Welcome everyone to Already Cancelled. We review TV shows here. The year is 2021 and the name of the show is Babylon 5.
Don't you want to go where everybody knows your name?
You know, Tara, I will be impressed when we get to season 5 if you've somehow picked a different TV intro.
I'm just going to loop the same three.
Okay, we're here about Babylon 5. This is season 1, episode 18. The reason why it took me a second there is because IMDb has completely rearranged their layout. So I didn't know where to find it. I was sort of scanning the page as I was saying it. So yeah, episode 18 is called A Voice in the Wilderness, Part 1. I am Peter, of course, joined by Tara, and
Hello.
full spoilers for the episode as always. So some juicy stuff on this episode, and this is actually quite notable for me because when I tried reviewing this on my own about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years now, this is the first one that I didn't do back then. This is no uncharted territory, so that's exciting, everyone. Not that I'd remembered a lot of it, but still, this is exciting all the same. So there's some big stuff in this here. There's some political ideas. There's some of the funniest laugh out loud moments. There's two in particular in this that I really like. What? Why are you shaking your head? What's...
I don't know. Like they didn't really get me, but I know you have a big crush on Londo.
Well, one is a Londo moment. One is a Garibaldi moment. Although it's not Garibaldi himself that made me laugh. It was more Sinclair's reaction to something. It's right at the start of the episode. Sinclair's talking to Ivanova about the planet that's beneath, the planet they're in orbit of down below is something. There's like a weird, maybe a signal or something. It's weird. Blah blah. We have to investigate. We'll get to that in a minute. Sinclair goes to the turbo lift or whatever they're calling it in Babylon 5, and Talia is kind of pacing, notably with no bangs, might we add. After the debate of last episode of Talia's hair, no bangs.
They are swept carefully to the side while they grow out because she clearly made a drunken mistake. We've all been there.
Typically, actors on shows though have like a stylist who makes all those choices for them. They're not allowed to just go off and do wacky things.
Are you unfamiliar with Britney Spears?
I am familiar with Britney Spears. Yes. Did she make some hair choices at some point?
Yeah, she got like drunk and shaved her head. It's called pulling a Britney.
Is it called? Okay, fair enough. Leave Britney alone. That's the only Britney Spears meme that I really remember. But yes, so, and she's kind of pacing, and Sinclair asks her, what's up, Miss Winters? What's going on? And she says, oh, it's just this weird thing. Like, Mr. Garibaldi always seems to know when I'm getting in this lift. He's always there. Which, by the way, this is all played for laughs, but that is a little bit stalkery. That he's always there waiting. Right? I'll acknowledge that. But he says, and even this is slightly amusing that he says to an actual telepath, Mr. Garibaldi's a lot of things, but he's not clairvoyant. I'm like, you're speaking to someone who kind of is clairvoyant. Not in the traditional sense, but still. But the doors to the lift open and Garibaldi's just standing there with a smirk in his face. But it was Sinclair's reaction of like, just like sort of like it was like a mixture of like horror and like shock. It got me. It broke me. I was cackling with laughter in this opening scene.
Yep. Both Talia and Sinclair. I forgot her name because she hasn't been on the show in so long. And Sinclair decide to skip and take the next turbo lift.
Yeah, even Sinclair's freaked out by Garibaldi in this scene. Which is really funny.
He does, like, the door's open and he's giving like the weirdest creepy smile.
Your elevator.
It lends more evidence to my theory that Garibaldi is a pervert.
Well, that's the funny thing about it, is that he has this kind of big joke moment at the start of the episode, and then the rest of the episode he has a very kind of serious plot where he's genuinely concerned about someone, which, obviously he's done both things but in the past, but it's just funny that this episode really dives into him and him caring about someone that he almost married when he was on Mars, and Mars comes into the plot of this episode because there's a terrorist attack from a group called Free Mars, the Free Mars movement, and hundreds have died in an attack in some of the Earth domes on Mars. So that is a fascinating sort of thing that maybe we'll get into more as the show progresses. But because right now I think it's fairly fuzzy exactly. Okay, so the people who see themselves as like this Mars group versus, because it's not like, I mean, I guess there's people who are born on Mars. In fact, it even mentions in this episode that Sinclair was born on Mars, but no one's like a true native of Mars in the sense that, you know, everyone goes back to Earth. Everyone comes from Earth. You know, back down the line, human being wise, that is. So I'm interested to get into some of the ideas here of who these people are.
Yeah, I mean, sure, it's just, I mean, we could say that about different nations here. Like, I'm American, but like, we're not part of the people who were here first. Or if you want to go all the way back, then like nobody was here. So yeah, I mean, it just transfers over.
There's some parallels to the US for sure. Although I don't think the show's going to tell us that there was like native Martians that were. Like
I don't know.
I don't think we're going to find out there's a Mars Thanksgiving where the Martians were. You know, I feel like that's not something that happened here, but I don't know. Maybe they'll throw something at us that I'm not expecting.
Sure.
But. Yeah, so that happens. So Garibaldi spends the episode. He goes to Talia for help, and honestly, his flirtations with Talia, and maybe I'm being generous calling them that, like they're at the point where she immediately, as soon as he shows up, says, "No, Garibaldi, go." She tries to shoo him away immediately, and I'm like, Garibaldi, what have you been doing to this woman? Like,
I know, right? Like, she really comes off like, is she? I mean, maybe he hasn't crossed any lines, but she feels threatened, clearly.
At the very least, she's frustrated with his annoying presence.
And she can't take him like professionally either. Like it's crossed over into that. So, yeah, maybe he needs to back off a little. Garibaldi, give the woman some space.
It would seem that way. I wonder if it's worse because she's a telepath and she can sort of like sense what he's thinking.
Yeah. And he is a perv. We all know this.
And we've established that he likes motorbikes, cartoons, and women. So there's not really much to the plot other than he knows about a secret Psy-Corps base on Mars, and they won't let him use it to communicate with anyone, but they don't find her name on the survivor list. This woman that he talks about almost marrying, that he asked to come with him to Babylon 5 because he felt this was a great opportunity to prove himself after being fired from like 4 jobs. So a bit of backstory here, a bit of stuff here bubbling. But and I'm sure it'll either come up next episode in part 2, or perhaps this will be stuff that's revisited later. But at this point, I'm starting to trust this show to bring things back, because it's been bringing back so many little things already that it's just kind of, it felt like it wasn't something that would come back in the first place. So this is a
oh yeah, totally. I feel the same way.
So this is clearly set up.
I'm sure this will have an answer. If not next episode, then season 3 or something. I'll be like, oh yeah. There was that woman on Mars.
That's right. So, I guess the main plot of the episode, if you want to call something the A-plot, would be the planet itself beneath the station, and the mystery that comes along with that. Because it feels like there's a lot going on in this episode. There's definitely at least 3 distinct plots, and there's an extra element, which is part of the A-plot technically, but it's not necessarily obvious that it is part of that at first, which is the weird visions of like an alien saying, "Help me," or you know, whatever he says. Which Sinclair sees, and then later on Londo sees, and I kind of appreciated that Londo's not really part of that plot, or never finds out what that's about or why, and maybe he does next episode, but it doesn't feel like he has to. It feels like, yeah, like this may never come up, and he just thinks he had this weird moment because he was drunk or something and saw someone.
Sure, yeah. It just for us, it reinforces that Sinclair has had a vision from an alien, because now 2 characters have seen it. Except he doesn't go to the doctor or anything. We haven't seen Franklin in a while either. He hasn't gone to him and be like, "I'm seeing things. Can you diagnose me, or something out there needs my help?"
But would you go to a doctor after one vision? Just one?
Yeah, maybe you want to play it out, see how things go before you get the diagnosis you don't want.
Yeah, I feel like I would at least
see
wait
if it
for a
goes away on
second.
its own.
Yeah, get a second vision first. See if it goes away. But if I get a second and a third, then that's time to
Okay, yeah. Time to make a
ask for
doctor's
help.
appointment.
Yeah.
Face the truth.
Yes. And as someone who doesn't pay for healthcare, that is definitely still the attitude I have. Wait and see if it goes away. Give it a bit of time, and if it doesn't, okay, then it's time to see the doctor.
Yeah.
So the science ship goes down, and there's like an energy blast that basically cripples the ship, and they have to. Ivanova has to send in some fighter jets or jets. You know what I mean? The little ships.
They're the X-wings.
I mean, basically, yeah. To go and save them. I trust you enjoyed her rant when she criticizes the scientists for going. This is the second time it goes down, but.
I love sassy Ivanova.
Yes, and this is maybe her most sassiest yet.
Definitely.
Yeah, she goes on a rant because he doesn't listen to her. He goes too low into the atmosphere where they can't really defend him, and they almost get killed by rockets, which, they theorize quite quickly that it's an automated system by a race, a civilization that's been dead for a long time. That whatever was on this planet, whoever was on this planet, they've been absent for centuries, if not more. But she goes on a little rant. It's like, hey, and maybe you'll remember the guidebook, the credence of Babylon 5, the motto of Babylon 5. Ivanova is always right. I will listen to Ivanova's recommendations. And if I do not follow it, Ivanova will break your arm. Ivanova is God.
She said pull out their lungs.
Yeah, that was it. Pull out the lungs.
Pretty rough. Yeah.
Yes. It was enjoyable. I mean, it's one of those things where I sort of laughed at it more because I knew how much you would like it. So I was watching it. Probably similar to how you feel when Londo does something funny.
She's probably my second favorite character. The first, obviously, being the mantis. Whose name I've forgotten.
I thought you were going to say Londo, like the mantis, the shady
The
black
mantis.
market mantis.
Yes.
Okay, all right, I can see it.
Living in the slums.
So they get a photo and it's like, okay, this is an artificial crevice. This fissure that these rockets are firing through. It's probably quite deep. So it's like, well, this is a security risk and it's possibly first contact. We have to look into it. Take it seriously.
It's going to be dangerous. Send the captain.
So Sinclair and Ivanova go down. There's some Indiana Jones stuff actually, where there's like a trap. There's like a sort of automated turret, like in the middle of a hallway. I actually kind of loved them finding this corpse though, because it's like what is this like species, this alien that's dead here? We don't know. Like,
yeah, it looks new.
Is this one of the aliens that is native to whatever built this place, or is it an enemy from the same time period from a different planet? Like,
or something that also went to investigate and died in the traps.
Oh yeah. So I love the mystery of this part. I was kind of like, yeah, I'm into this. Like, what is this culture that was on this planet?
I also really like in the show that there are no transporters, so they have to take shuttles. If anything, it's good because sometimes when you watch Star Trek, you're like, just transport them. Why can't you transport them? And they don't mention why they can't transport. You're like, damn it.
Yeah.
Come on, Star Trek.
And equally, there's a lot of episodes where they have to come up with some just techno-babble reason. Something's interfering with the transport signal.
Yeah. That's okay. I'll accept that.
But the fact that they have to do it, it's kind of like in a modern horror movie where we always have to explain why no one can use their phones. It's like, no signal, the battery's dead.
Being able to transport is just such a convenient thing. Like, why do they even have shuttlecrafts? Just transport everywhere.
Yes.
But I like that they have no transporters in this series, so they have to fly in.
Yeah, I mean, unlike Star Trek, I think it's definitely going for a more, given despite the fact that there's a lot of fantastical stuff in terms of concepts, the actual tech is still very grounded, I think, for the most part. Tactile buttons, ships, docking, right down to the fact that we have like, you never hear, I mean it's mentioned casually, but in Star Trek you never really think about a crew who are like having to like prepare the docking bays for ships to come in and things like that. It's just not something they have, partly because most people are beaming onto the ship. But so there's
you do in Deep Space Nine because it's a station.
Sure, yeah, but that's it feels industrial. It feels that kind of vibe to it. But they find this, so they get through the trap. Just do a fancy little test with some rocks. I say fancy test. They throw some rocks at it to work out how quickly again it'll start firing, so they can run through it. But they find this huge a shaft, I guess, but it's like full of tech, and it's almost like you know in Aliens when the reactor's going towards the end of the movie, and like they're going up the elevator, you know, Ripley's going up the elevator, and it's all just this like towers and towers of reactors with like lights and all that. It's basically that, but a bit more sci-fi looking with like different colors.
Yeah, and it's got the sweet elevator that's on the exterior of buildings going up. But it's got that inside.
Yeah.
So it's not. But you know what I mean, that style of elevator.
But they have the vision of the person asking for help, and Ivanova sees it this time, so Sinclair knows he's not crazy, and then they quickly find this being who's literally strapped into the machine. You presume this is the central core of whatever this whole thing is, and he's either operating it, or he's trapped here, or he's a prisoner. I'm sure this is stuff we're going to get into next episode, because obviously we don't have much time to really get to know him this episode. They just decide to take him out and sort of fly up and try and get back to the base, which is more or less when the episode ends, because the cliffhanger in this is very sudden. I thought, you know, the jump gate opens, and you know the woman there says, "Oh, it's some big ship. You know, it's this big sir." Starts speaking to Garibaldi, and we just get Garibaldi's reaction saying, "What the hell?" And then it says, "To be continued." And I'm like, "Oh, that was a cliffhanger." Okay. Yeah,
pretty sudden.
Is this someone coming for this alien being that they've just rescued off this planet? Is that what this is, or is it related to something else? I don't know. That'd be my first guess. But
yeah, it looks like he's like powering the thing. There's some sort of Matrix-like machine needing humans for a battery, except this is not a human. It's some sort of being, and he seems old, so maybe he lives for thousands of years and has been there for a long time.
Yeah, and if this is like a super old race, then maybe it'll be this sort of thing where they are maybe not quite, you know, what we saw before with like the higher plane of existence, but are they beyond what all these other races are in terms of they're more advanced? Get in the way that the Vorlons keep looking down at the other races, particularly the humans, saying we're not ready for this, and this. I wonder if this is going to cause some intergalactic disputes like that. In fact, one of the little moments, this is not the big moment with Londo that made me laugh, because Londo's in a lot of this episode. He's in a lot of different plots. He bounces around, but he has one scene with Sinclair where he's like, "Oh, you're going down to the planet. Well, you know, maybe there's something valuable down there." And Sinclair says, "I don't really think so for whatever reason." And he's like, "Yeah, but if you find anything valuable, you'll tell me, right?" He's like, "No," and just walks away. That gave me a chuckle. Just give me a chuckle.
Just because Sinclair was so offended by the question, like, no.
No.
Like, why would you even ask me that?
Of course not. It'll be classified. Go away. In fact, because there's another scene that's very standalone, actually, but again, speaks a lot to the themes of the show, with him, Delenn, and Sinclair early on. They're negotiating a trade route where both of them will, you know, both the Minbari and the Centauri will let each other travel somewhere, and they'll save money, blah, blah, blah. You know, we hear some parts of the details, but not all of it. But the more interesting part of the scene is definitely when they start talking about Jakar towards the end of it, because they sort of solved their little trade deal, and you know, Londo's quite happy with it. He's like, it's amazing how smooth these things can go when there's not someone here causing a ruckus, you know, being unreasonable. And Delenn's like, well, you know, to be fair to Jakar, you know, there's a difference between anger and unreasonable, and I think he's mostly just angry. He's unreasonable sometimes, but he's mostly just angry. And basically both Delenn and Sinclair, and it's funny that these, you know, representing the humans and the Minbari who were at war, it's kind of funny that both of them are saying, well, why not sort of let it go? Why do you have to hate them in return? It's just a cycle of violence. And Londo, again, tying back into like his attitude, the Centauri attitude to the Narn and vice versa, is like, no, and he tries to argue with math. He's like, oh, we're all just victims of mathematics because every, you know, action requires an equal and opposite reaction.
He forgot that he said the word opposite, though. I mean, he does say it, but like equal and opposite reaction would be like, okay, so be nice to him instead of mad at him.
Oh, true. Okay, fair point. Okay, yes, it's not opposite. All right, I'm sorry. Yes.
Why are you so sorry?
Wait, I'm not being corrected. You're correcting him?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay. Never mind that. All right. Okay. Yes.
Correcting Londo.
I bring back my. I take back my apology. But you know, and I thought it was interesting to bring up that kind of notion at the start of this episode, because the show's quite good at only bringing up themes and ideas when they're somewhat relevant to what's going on, and I think it does tie into a little bit of the Free Mars movement and what we're hearing kind of in the background of that. But I do wonder if this is going to be thematically relevant to whatever this alien being is that's been found on the planet, and whatever we do in part 2 with that plot.
I was expecting it because you're right, it was a pretty early scene, so I thought, well, we'll see how this ties in later on.
Yeah,
but it doesn't really, so we'll see.
Kind of in the same way that was it Signs of Importance? Was that the one that started with Jakar and Londo at the elevator bickering over the elevator?
Yes.
And the idea being that the start of the episode just kind of sets up the dynamic between, just to remind you and sort of set up the theme of the episode as a sort of not a thesis, but like a, hey, here's a taste of what we're going to be exploring this episode. So I expect it to be relevant thematically, if nothing else, across the two-parter. But
that was a great episode you brought up.
Yeah, it was probably the best one until now.
I agree.
Yes, but your reason for agreeing is questionable. And that's the one with Garrett Graham.
The greatest actor of all time.
Yeah, everyone should get excited. There's going to be a new prop on Tara's set, if you will, soon. And I think it should go right in the corner of that dresser so everyone can see it in the background. Whatever especially when we're talking about Babylon 5. It should be there for every show, to be honest. But especially when we're talking about Babylon 5. Yep.
I'll wait to reveal it. It's coming from the UK, so it's going to take a while.
Oh, okay. All right. Shoved it myself. I didn't. I'm kidding. So, anyway, so, yeah, Londo's actual... So, again, Londo's jumping around a lot because he jumps into the Garibaldi plot because he sits down with Garibaldi when he's feeling glum and not drinking. He's just drinking water. In fact, Londo has the vaguely amusing line where he says, water, never touch the stuff. That's what it is.
Because he's not human.
But
That's funny. But
hey, like, I feel like this is a good showcase episode for Londo and just showing that he is actually quite nice to most people around him. Like, he sits down and tries to help Garibaldi here. He wants to make him feel better. And I
do like in the negotiation scene also that he's clearly drinking some type of margarita while he negotiates.
It's very Londo. Right. I mean, maybe there's a...
I'm sure it's some sort of alien drink that he requires. Maybe it's their version of water. But it looks like a margarita. I
don't think so. Because the point I was going to make, given you bringing that up, is that I wonder if there is maybe kind of just a small thing here where Garibaldi is an alcoholic, and we've explored that a bit, and it's something that's obviously a constant part of his character. I do wonder if Londo's kind of the friend who is an alcoholic but has never really admitted it or realised it yet.
Yeah. That's why he's so friendly with people. And he turns so quickly on a dime around Jakar because he's drunk.
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. He tells the story of how he met. I don't know if it was his first wife, but one of his wives. Because as he was telling this story, it sounded quite sweet, where he was really in a really bad mood, and he used to go to strip clubs, to exotic dancers and all that. And he went and visited one, and he was really miserable, and he watched the show, but he wasn't really paying attention. But the stripper, he never uses that word, but the stripper leans in and says, it can't be so bad, and kisses him on the forehead. And this all sounds quite sweet, and he talks about how he married her the next day, and he'd rather chew off his arm than wake her up. And I'm like, right, we've heard you talk about your 3 wives before. This does not sound like one of them. So I was expecting the twist. Like
pestilence.
Yeah, I was expecting the little twist. And Garibaldi says, oh, that's sweet. And he's like, no. I didn't want to wake her up. Her voice is awful. And then he starts doing an impression of her. Londo, my dear. And I don't know. It was giving me the chuckles. But then Garibaldi said, if you kiss me, I'm going to break your arm. The whole thing was amusing because obviously Londo's funny and his delivery of lines is good. But I did think it was because they've had this weird friendship since the very start of the show. And I think it's interesting to keep exploring that. And maybe part of the reason why he does put up with Londo is because he recognises some of himself in him. And I think that's maybe a thought I've not had before that I think is worth...
Didn't that come up in an episode?
What?
That Londo, or Garibaldi reminds Londo of himself? I want to say that came up in the episode with the girl.
Yes. Garibaldi reminds Londo of himself, but I'm saying the opposite there. I'm saying that Garibaldi recognizes himself in Londo.
I see. Okay.
I'm
I
saying
did not follow.
I'm saying the feeling's mutual, I guess, is what I'm saying. That was really confusing to say out loud, but I knew what I meant. Yeah. So I guess what I'm saying is he's like an alcoholic who recognizes another alcoholic and wants to be his like a sponsor, I guess, for lack of a better term. He wants to reach out and be there for him, but he's obviously Londo's not ready to admit he's got a problem. In fact, hell, that scene where he talks about Jakara in the episode is kind of an example of him digging deep and like, no, I'm right about this. This is me, and there's no wavering on this. So, good character building, if nothing else. Good character writing. It's consistent.
Yeah, I agree.
The other plot that he shows up in is the Minbari plot. The Delenn has a friend visiting, and some mythology stuff here we don't quite understand yet.
Friend.
Yes. Oh, it's more of a father figure, I'd have said.
I know. I don't know why I said it like that. I just wanted to contribute something.
Well, okay, you can speculate then. What do you think the sea is? Because he's going to the sea, and she's really concerned that it's basically like it sounds
Death.
like
It sounds like the afterlife.
it does kind of, but it sounds more like he's there he'll be there until the end, which implies that he goes out there to. Do you know what it sounds like to me? This is like a weird comparison, but it sounds like in the 1995 film Judge Dredd when they go out into the wasteland to like live out the rest of their days until they die, like when the judge retires.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it kind of sounded like to me. It sounded like this is some place they go where they can never come back from, and then they'll die like eventually. This is the
this
later
is her
years.
Max von Sydow's heroic walk out into the desert.
Yes, that's what it is. Although notably, this episode predates that movie, so Judge Dredd stole it. That's what I'm saying.
Sure. Yeah, I don't know. I was getting vibes of the Grey Havens from The Lord of the Rings. I think a worthy comparison. No.
How dare you?
It's just where they go to live out the rest of their days, or it's death, really.
Is that where your boy Elijah Wood goes?
Well, I don't want to spoil anything.
Okay. All right.
You know me. I don't like to spoil things. Only Memento.
Do not talk about Memento. There'll be no Memento talk. In this episode.
Well, when we have an episode where our main hero turns out to be the bad guy the whole time, then I'll bring it up.
Oh my god! What are you doing?
It may happen.
Damn you, woman. If you were one of London's wives, you'd be, I don't know, death.
Not famine.
Not famine.
I ate right before we started.
I'm like, I wasn't even thinking that, but I'm just realizing that if I had said that, I'd get such an evil look for her. That'd be a really nasty joke to say about you from me, but to yourself, it's fine.
Yeah.
You can crack your own not famine jokes.
Thank you.
I'm not saying it. I'm not saying the word.
You said it very carefully.
I'm not saying the F word. Okay. So anyway, so we have to talk about the hokey pokey. Right? This is the. Did you not enjoy this scene?
No.
No.
I didn't. No, I thought it was odd. It just doesn't age well. Nobody does the hokey pokey. They might as well have said the Macarena.
Look. It was definitely
or the
a thing.
mashed potato or the twist.
Okay, mashed potato wasn't a thing in the UK, right? But the hokey pokey, although we didn't call it the hokey pokey, it was the hokey cokey. But that's the whole different thing, right? But the hokey cokey, in primary school or grade school, as the the colonials would call it, that was a thing at the time in the 90s. So I get why that was the reference, but. For me, the scene is, again, it's more about just his reaction when it's building up and he's talking about, I've been studying Earthers and it's been, he's been quite pleasant because I was expecting him to get angry because we've seen Delondo get angry when someone comes to his quarters and they interrupt him, right? But he's actually in a good mood. He's fine. He's like, no, I'm honoured. I'll meet your friend Delenn. Yeah, this is nice. I've been researching the Earthers and they've got 6,000 years of recorded history, so many composers, so many wonderful symphonies, but the song that seems to be the most popular in recorded history,
passed on from generation to generation,
and it sings a little bit of the hokey cokey, and It's mildly amusing, but I think what I love about it is at the end when he just yells out, "It means nothing! I've analyzed it for 7 days, and it means nothing!"
Just wait till he gets to, like, the 21st century pop music.
Oh, I know.
Or,
but
I guess, current day rap music. It's going to be all about butts.
And the older guy that's with Delenn, like, it's not laugh out loud funny, but I did get a minor smile when he says, "I actually quite like the song," and Delenn's like, "Don't tell him. Just, please, don't tell him."
Yeah, he's drunk. He's having one of his episodes. Just let him cool off.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, yeah, it does kind of sound like someone saying, "No, don't bring it up. They're drunk. Don't bring it up." Like, it does actually kind of cut. I mean, we may be onto something here in a weird way.
Maybe.
Maybe not in a literal sense, but there's definitely a lot of parallels that I can see with Londo. A lot of parallels. That's all I'm saying.
Do you have to rehearse that word a lot? Parallels. It's such a hard word for a Scottish person to say. I mean, you did all right. You said it twice too.
Yeah, parallels.
Parallels.
I'm okay with parallels, but when I say what's the word that I really struggle with? Literally. I can't do literally. I struggle with that one.
Literally.
Literally.
Yeah. Literally.
Parallelogram. There you go.
All right. That's tangent.
So yeah, there's a lot going on in this episode, and I feel like I think Londo bouncing around every plot does make the world feel all connected, bizarrely. So some little things. I like that the scientist dude's very gung-ho about going back down, even though he almost died. He's like, no, if I'm going to go out, I'm going to go out discovering something exciting.
I know. He was an interesting character. I liked him.
I mean, sometimes like the minor guest stars on B5 can be a little rough, but I felt like he carried himself fine. He was likable.
Yeah, he was fine.
If anything, the only actor that stuck out to me in this that was a bit off was maybe like there's like a reporter from Mars at one point. They watched like a TV broadcast, and he felt a bit like hammy and a sort of okay, he's a cheap TV actor they just threw in because I mean there's only so much money to throw around at better actors. You have to pick.
I think the other guy who was in that shuttle pod, that geological crew, also was a bit rough, but like he had one line.
Yeah, I didn't
and
notice
then just
him.
sat there. So
I didn't notice him because the main guy was kind of like dominating the scene and had all the lines. So
he was fun. I liked him.
It didn't stick out to me as much. Yeah, it's how abrupt it ends. It really gets me. It really does kind of feel like a genuine two-parter, and in the sense that it's really just one big episode. They just lopped in half and did a freeze frame.
Yeah.
To be continued. Come back next week. So I guess if I have a critique, it's that it doesn't really feel like it naturally builds up to a cliffhanger that feels like a cliffhanger. It feels more like it just pauses. But
honestly, I thought the cliffhanger was going to be, because I knew it was a two-parter, was as soon as they saw the guy strapped into the machine, I thought they would fade to black there and put the to be continued. That seemed like the most sense.
Yeah. I could have seen that.
But it does. It feels like an episode. It's like, well, this is the halfway point, so we're just going to slice it here.
Yes.
to be continued on it.
Yes, we'll end on Garibaldi saying "What the hell" in freeze frame and just call it a day. So it's a minor critique. I do think the episode's pretty good though, but it's hard to judge completely because it's obviously just half of a whole. So
yeah, I mean, we don't really have anything answered yet.
Yeah, we don't know what the resolutions are to a lot of these threads. So. But there's a lot of good little mythology things in there and a lot of good little character beats. I didn't even realize just how much we could discuss. I mean, obviously, when you were going to mention a lot of Londo scenes, but I didn't realize there was much to talk about with his character in this. That I think, as I was talking about, I kind of like, there's actually some stuff here. There's a bit more depth than perhaps I realized. And I did like Delenn in the scene where she finds out that her friend's going to the sea and her reaction. And then him try to like sort of like calm her and convince her that it's okay and it's time and he's ready to do it, you know. But to just enjoy, you know, these like days or weeks together, however long it is, because he says he's not in a complete rush. He's got a bit of time.
Maybe when they age, they have like some sort of evolution thing where they go back to the sea.
Because their heads are like seashells.
Yeah, they look like they came from the sea for sure.
I can see it. I can see it a little bit. Actually, I noticed his head had maybe more of the warrior, like 3-pointy. So maybe it's not a warrior thing.
They were spikier.
Yeah, maybe it's just like just depends on appearance kind of thing. It's like it's
I would say it's a male thing, but we've seen linear.
Yeah, maybe it's just like a blonde brunette redhead thing where your type of shell in your head's just this shape, that shape, or this shape, and there you go. It's fine. That makes sense.
It's not like bees or anything where they're born with their job because of like a worker bee is born and like you're a worker bee, or like the guard bees are born, or bees have like a caste system. Bees are fascinating.
Is that what we've come to with this review? Bees are fascinating.
Well, we're talking about different aliens. They could be, I don't know, maybe they're based on some sort of shellfish like bee creature who are also humanoid.
Now, to be fair,
speculating. I don't know what happens in this show.
When we talked about the headpieces seeming different for the warrior race, like last episode, yeah, it was kind of implying that they're born into either one or the other. It's not just a case of I mean, who knows though? Maybe there'll be a thing where later on where it turns out they can take that off and replace it if they want to. Maybe there's a choice there. Maybe there is something like that.
I think, I don't know if this is spoiler, but I think I've seen pictures.
I've seen this too.
Of hair.
Yes, I've definitely seen a picture of Delenn from clearly a later season with a full head of like hair. So,
okay, yeah.
So clearly there is a difference, and whether that's just something specific to her because she makes a choice or because something else.
They just change it, decide to change all of them. I can't wait for it because there's something that really irritates me. I don't know what it is. Maybe not irritate me, but it's unnerving that they have such tiny ears and it's on the jawline. So I'm hoping the hair will cover it up.
Isn't that good though that it feels alien?
It's weird. It's too alien.
It's too alien.
Or no, it's like the uncanny valley. Like that's a human ear, but it's too low. I don't like it.
This is too alien. But the mantis in the black market, he's number one.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? You don't want to go. You want to go full alien.
Okay. just keep it on top of this. Just keep it on top of it.
The ear placement, it weirds me out. That's all.
Yes. It was delightful to get a lot of Londo bouncing around a lot of characters this episode because he wasn't in the last one, so it was a nice make-up for last episode.
And he's not like Talia. He can't take 10 episodes off.
Oh, no. Never. Please never. How dare you. So, no. But this is a solid episode so far. Obviously, we need the back half. And I feel like we might have even more nice things to say about the second half just because it'll have all the actual resolutions in it to what the episode's doing. So... Oh, cool. So I wonder if we'll find out much about this alien race from the planet, or whatever, or it'll be more mysterious. But that is the episode. So thank you very much for joining us. Let us know what you think of A Voice in the Wilderness Part 1 if you've seen it, of course, and you should have if you're watching this. Let's be honest. So please like and subscribe. That is super important. It is the easiest and simplest and the free way to help us on YouTube. You just simply hit those buttons, maybe make a comment. And it helps us with the dreaded YouTube algorithm, the weird matrix-like system that determines success on YouTube, and we're all at its mercy. And it's fed only with likes, subscribes, and comments. So please do that. But you can also support us financially, can't you, Tara?
That's right. If you enjoy the reviews, please check out the Patreon page. It's patreon.com/MalfuzTV. And if you donate as low as $1 per month, you'll get access to bonus episodes for other shows we do, so please head over and check that out. Oh, and if you donate $5 per month, you'll get access to these Babylon 5 reviews 1 week early. Thank you.
So there you go. That is this week's Babylon 5 discussion. We will see you next time for part 2 of A Voice in the Wilderness. But until then, thank you once again for watching and listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching Babylon 5. Just don't give away the home world.